Hi, my dearest family. So here is my interpretation on the upcoming full moon in Gemini that is going to be taking place on the 15th of December on 23, almost in 24 degree of Gemini. So full moon is always about a culmination, and it is said to be the culmination of something that went down 2 weeks before around the new moon. I do not completely agree with that. I think this might be something that started 9 or 18 months before. Now, I'm not going to go into details why, but very briefly, the full moon, wherever it is taking place, 9 months before, actually, the sun and the moon were around those degrees and they were in square. And then 18 months before, they were actually making a conjunction around those degrees. But any full moon or any Gemini full moon is actually could be good to release or make adjustments in the way how you learn, how you teach, how you write, or even how you communicate. This is the sign of connections, connecting with your relatives, connecting with your neighbors. It highly depends on what part of your chart is. So, for example, if it's in your sixth house, this could be your, for example, your aunties or uncles that you need to be connecting with. But there is this playfulness to it. There is also this variety involved with Gemini. So now we've got a opposition going on between the moon and the sun. So while the moon is in the sign of Gemini, the sun is in the sign of Sagittarius. So it is pretty much trying to bring together the Gemini and the Sagittarius part of your chart. And this is the mental axis of your chart. While Gemini represents a little bit like the factual side of your brain, the lower mind of your brain, Sagittarius represents the connectivity. So bringing all pieces of information together, seeing the bigger picture, we can call it as the higher mind as well. So it really looks like that we're going to have to be able to think logically. But the Sagittarius sun is telling you that you need to be seeing everything in a broader perspective. And the full moons are only working when you do both of them at the same time. So, of course, Sagittarius is all about looking for the meaning of all the pieces of information that we have gathered, and then we can actually expand on that. While Gemini is all about your pretty much of your neighborhood, Sagittarius is telling us, you know what, we need to do a lot of adventure. Let's go to a different country. Let's go to a different town and all those type of things. So it looks beyond. We're gonna have to somehow find balance. I mean, we have got a dual sign activation going on here. And often there is the representation that the brain and the heart are kind of like having a little bit of a debate here. So while the full moon is always about illuminating something, so we're gonna have to be having clarity here. Which one is kind of like dictating to us? Is it our mind or is it our heart? And often, because it's an opposition, there is a conflict, or we do not know how to balance things out, or we kind of feel stuck in a certain type of situations. Because with Gemini, it's so very important we ask questions. And you might be able to kind of like get the answers. So probably this full moon and new moon were very much about a lot of empty promises, for example, a lot of big talks, uh, talking the big game type of thing. So by asking the question, we might be able to get clarity around it. Maybe you want to ask yourself the question whether maybe you are holding yourself back somehow from expressing your own truth. Or maybe you even can think about how you can align the words and your actions. So, what I'm kind of like trying to say here is because Sagittarius is very much about figuring out what your purpose is. So maybe we need to be able to act on our purpose in a way, on our dreams as well. And in order for us to know which direction to go, we're going to have to ask loads of questions. It is a journey. that we are all on. And it looks like it is actually a little bit of a healing journey as well, because I will be talking about that in a short while. But Neptune is quite a participant of this configuration, because it's actually squaring both the moon and the sun as well at the same time. And because Mercury, the dispositor of this full moon, is stationary on the very same day when the full moon is happening, it really feels like that you're going to have to slow down a little bit. You're going to have to stop. You shouldn't be making any type of decision immediately. Maybe something needs to be reviewed, something needs to be redefined. And of course, this is going to be your journey that you are on. So, an opposition is often an inner conflict that we tend to be attracting in the outer world as well. And this inner conflict could be even connected to certain type of kind of like limitations. Now, why do I talk about limitations here? Even though this is happening on 23 degree and Saturn is on 13 degrees, so this might not be something that, I would call a close aspect. However, the dispositor of this lunation, which is Mercury, right? That is only about 6, 7 degree away from Saturn. So I would definitely call that as an aspect here. And it could feel like that I'm not smart enough, I'm not intelligent enough. Now, it's very interesting, by the way, because I was just preparing a presentation for the weekend. And the title of that presentation is Whether Liars Can Be Seen Through Your Own Chart. And what was very interesting to see is that, well, in that webinar, I'm going to be talking to you about how to kind of like spot liars. And therefore, lying is very much of a Mercurian topic, by the way. So I'm going to be walking you through certain type of Mercurian aspect and what they are lying about. So actually, if you're interested in that webinar, you can actually grab your spot now. And one of the things that I would mention with Mercury and Saturn from a lying point of view, that this could be kind of like a chronic liar, especially with squares and oppositions. Often Mercury Saturn combinations indicate someone who is actually super intelligent. They are gifted storytellers, but they are worried that they are not coming across intelligent. And therefore, there is always an overcompensation going on, because I need to look smart. And that's where some of the lying element, for example, of Mercury and Saturn might be coming into the picture. But what was very interesting is that, because I'm also adding you asteroids as well, what would be the representation of lying? And that's the reason why I started looking up some of the asteroids in the chart. And what was really interesting is to see that there is an asteroid called the Truth, and its astrological number is 249521, if you want to be looking up where it is. And Truth in that particular chart is actually also squaring this combination. So I was wondering if what we will see with this full moon, that some of these lies that might be coming from 9 months ago, 18 months ago, or potentially even from 2 weeks ago, are going to get spotlighted for you. So some type of truth that is coming out for me. That's what I'm kind of seeing with this full moon. And this is the reason why you're going to have to be asking a lot of questions, because the truth is on the way to you. But so we've got this Saturn here, and there is also a spotlight, it feels like, on that limitation, on that tension that you are not able to grow, for example, because Mercury is thinking about this growth. And the question is whether you are willing to face your own fears or accept responsibility for all things that you have said and done and promised, and maybe you haven't delivered them just yet. Now, of course, this full moon is very curious, very intellectual, but the sun in the sign of Sagittarius is actually looking for the meaning to life, looking for the truth. And Saturn is actually challenging this, right? So Saturn is telling us that we need to bring these two together if we want to build something. This is wanting us to kind of ground our spiritual side as well. And it wants us to have a boundary. It wants us to be disciplined about it. It wants us to be clarifying our intentions, where we are heading in life. We cannot just walk around like nothing is important in life. So what usually Saturn does, it tries to sober you up. It wants you to ground your vision. It wants you to kind of like wipe off the tears of your eyes so that you can see things crystal clear. And because Saturn is in the sign of Pisces, which is what? Intuition, dreams, spirituality, healing, uh, uh, of course, hospitals and all those type of things. Whatever it is, it needs to have a structure. What are you afraid of? This could be a question that you need to be asking. What type of beliefs you have or thought patterns you have that is not allowing you to move forward? And there is a need here to find balance between how curious I am and what your own truth is. Now, we've got Neptune in the picture as well. And Neptune is squaring very tightly. And it really feels like that this is telling us that it's time to wake up. Maybe we have been sleeping in that cradle for a very long time. And when Neptune is involved in something, yes, it tries to dissolve the vision that we have and tries to kind of confuse the situation also. But it also inspires you in a very creative way to tap into your subconscious mind where all the answers are found. It can help you actually to do any type of creative matters. It could be telling you to write down your dreams, for example, and then try to make sense of them. But often it can feel like that someone is kind of like gaslighting you, someone is deceiving you, and then you need to be able to find clarity about what these people want. So with this um, full moon, also I find it very interesting that uh, there is the T square going on here with Neptune. But on top of that, the sun has got a trine to Chiron, and therefore the moon sextiles that. And while Mercury squares Saturn, it pretty much trines Mars as well, and sextiles Venus and Pluto. And Venus and opposes Mars in the meantime, while it has got a trine to Jupiter. There is a lot of things going on here. So it really feels like that we are focused on the adventure, we are searching for meaning and wanting to find knowledge, for example. This moon might have so many ideas and then it just wants to share it with others. Therefore, we can become a lot more talkative. But imagine that someone is just talking, talking, and then we easily get bored or we get distracted as well. Or you might be worried about the future. You might feel kind of like baffled somehow. You might be struggling to keep track of all the information, details, and so forth. And then you feel that I'm lost. So imagine that you open up a newspaper or internet channels, you're reading, and then you get different types of messages, and then you do not know what is going on. there is definitely a yearning with Neptune being in the picture. There is this wishful thinking going on here, even the daydreaming. And that's where Mars trying to Mercury pops into the picture, where we're going to have to be strategic. We're going to have to come up with a plan. And Mercury, it's just, you know, what Mercury does in the sign of Sagittarius, that it's a little bit more optimistic. It's exploring all the possibilities that we've got right in front of us. And Saturn squaring Mercury says that, you know what, test things out. Use your intuition to know which is the real idea there that you can go for. Make a plan. Yes, you might be doubting yourself. Oh, I'm not clever enough. You know, you might be feeding your mind with negative thinking, for example. You might think that, oh, I'm not really good enough to kind of give shape and form to these dreams. I don't even know how to make them real. You can come up with all the excuses. But there is that trine from Mars, which is energizing your mind, which is helping to communicate, which is helping you to stand up, which is helping you to kind of, in a way, formulate the words. The problem is that Mars is retrograde and Mercury is um, stationary. So the problem is, on one hand, this is telling you, stop talking, think before you speak, or write things down because you might forget them. And then we've got a trine to the north node. So actually, we've got a kite configuration here. And the focal point of this kite is actually the south node. So it looks like if we want to go forward, we're going to have to let go of many ideas. And maybe some ideas need to be gone that are with that Saturn being in the picture, you know, it got tested, it didn't work. So, for example, you want to buy a laptop or you want to buy a phone, for example, with that new lunation in the sign of Gemini. And then you go to the shop and then you're testing them out. For example, you need one because of the pictures, and then you test four of them out. And then, you know what? I tested them. That one works for me. Because sometimes the problem with the moon is that we do the shopping with our eyes rather than thinking and asking the questions. I hope this example helps you to understand and maybe it helps you to put it into your own life as well. So even having a lot of ideas, maybe you want to also figure out whether it is your path or not. So we've got this grand trine. It is giving you the opportunity to heal. This is giving you the opportunity to let go of something that has not been serving in your life so that you can move forward to grow. And even though we are not necessarily talking about Mars today, which is obviously the dispositor of the North Node, but we still have got the Mars Pluto opposition, which is telling you that you must have the willpower. You must be driven. You must focus. You must build a confidence level. And this is where Mars might be struggling, might not be able to find that courage, for example, to explore all your ideas, all your desires, all your goals, all those things that are meaningful to you because you might be scared of them. So these are some of the topics that I feel like this might be very important. And the fact that on the very same day when Mercury stations direct in the sign of Sagittarius, um, by the way, exactly when Mercury stations Sagittarius, the moon is already moving into the sign of Cancer, but it happens approximately about um, 4 or 5 hours later when Mercury stations direct. But of course, it's really kind of like slow, of course. And this full moon really feels like that we have to be acting on our plan. We need to be making changes. Even if you had made changes already, this is telling you that you need to be reviewing them. Yes, let's look at the asteroids here. So one of the asteroids that is involved actually here is Vesta, because Vesta from the sign of Aquarius, it is actually connecting with a trine to this full moon. Sorry, I'm making a mistake here. So no, there is no trine there. What I was gonna say is, oh yeah, sorry, I'm making a mistake again. Yes, Vesta is making a trine to the full moon. I was focusing on Ceres, which is actually making a sextile to Mercury, but I wanted to talk about Vesta first. So Vesta is still in the sign of Libra, and Vesta is all about focus. So this is telling us, and we've got the South Node there. So remember that we have to be letting go of certain type of ideas, and maybe we have to be letting go of the idea of collaborating with something. However, when Vesta is in Libra, it is all about deep devotion to create harmony, to create balance, for example, in relationships, or to bring someone or a situation to justice. It's all about fairness. So this could, for example, indicate that we're gonna have to let go of the idea of becoming a people pleaser, for example. And maybe we need to be hearing the truth of the other person as well. Maybe this is the reason why we have to be asking a lot of questions so that we understand their motives as well. Vesta in Libra is all about wherever it is falling actually in your life, but it wants to create balance and harmony there. Vesta is known as the goddess of the hearth and home. So she represents something to do with service, devotion, and purity. So maybe you want to be creating a balance in your home environment, or people you live together with, or somehow even in your relationship as well. Focusing on diplomacy, for example. So remember that the Mercury and the Jupiter aspect was all about big promises, talking big games, and all those type of things, often promising things and then it doesn't get delivered. Now, Saturn wants us to be responsible for, all the promises that we made. And then Vesta is telling us that, with a bit of a time management, with a bit of a focus, actually we can deliver what we have promised, maybe with certain type of delays. Even Vesta might be focusing on equality as well. So focus on justice, focus on fairness, also what my needs are and what other people's needs are. That is also a topic here for Vesta. We might become very tactful with this. We might be using, our greatest communication skills. So it's all about expressing yourself very clearly, very effectively. But this could also indicate some negative, some stuff as well. We are overemphasizing of maintaining that harmony. And this is the reason why we are not going to be talking up. We try to avoid the conflicts. We are just too accommodating. And then we push our needs aside. So just be mindful about that. And also, there's another asteroid involved here, Cupido, which is in the sign of Gemini, almost on 21 degree. So we only have got approximately about a 3-degree separation, and I consider that as possibly a conjunction. So now, Cupido is in Gemini from August until March 2025. I think I made a separate video about Cupid, right? In the sign of Gemini. I might have done that. But anyway, Cupido moved into the sign of Gemini on 1st of August, and then it's going to be leaving on the 30th of March. So again, we've got quite an extended period of time here and it's due to its retrograde motion. Usually, it wouldn't be spending more than probably a month here. And Cupido is about crushes and infatuation and certain type of sexual chemistry between others. So this could really talk to you about for by the way, its astrological number is 763. If you would like to look it up, and then you can do that on us.com. You go on the extended chart selection, you click on additional object, and then you just add manually 763 into the little box, and then you will see where Cupido is. So obviously, it could talk to you about, for example, that I keep thinking about someone that I am infatuated by. So, and then obviously that's a great thing on one hand, and secondly, it could even indicate that you cannot escape from that love story, for example. And then having Neptune in the picture as well, maybe this person is actually misleading you somehow. Also, you might be very passionate about all the ideas, all the plans that you have, and then you just throw yourself into the deep end, and then you explore even more and more. And of course, what could happen is that you get lost. Again, remember that Neptune is actually squaring this position also. And when we are communicating so passionately, then it might lead to certain type of arguments. Now, the arguments could be also coming from the Mars and Mercury trine, even though it's a trine, but Mars is retrograde. So therefore, that could be a archetype of heated conversations. Also, I would say that you might want to go back to September around 18th, because that's when Cupido was already on 20 degree of Gemini. And then now, because of its retrogression, it's back to 20 degree of Gemini. And around September 18th, we had a Jupiter and Cupido conjunction going on. So something might have got blown out of the ballpark there. And then this is the reason why we're going to have to kind of analyze the situation a little bit more. By the way, Cupido went retrograde around October 31st, and it's retrograde until January 20th. So this is still a retrograde period, but it has come back to that 20 degree. So a retrograde might show that we are struggling to kind of delineate what this person wants from us. We are in love with someone and we have no idea what they want. And therefore, with that Neptune, we are a little bit obsessed to figure out the truth. So, guys, this is what has been happening on the sky right now. I hope it helps, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.